My wife ignored me completely for an entire month. No words, no answers, like I didn't exist. So I left and rebuilt my life from nothing. Years later, I walked into my daughter's wedding, and the woman who once made me invisible finally saw the man I had become. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we bring you the most emotional, shocking, and unforgettable stories from Reddit and beyond. Today's story is about a man who was treated as invisible by the woman who promised to love him. For an entire month, she ignored him completely. So he left. Years later, she invites him to their daughter's wedding and gets the shock of her life when she sees who he's become. If you believe in the power of self-respect and the beauty of redemption, hit that like button, subscribe so you never miss a story, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. This one will stay with you. Let's begin. I remember the exact moment I became invisible. It was a Tuesday evening in October, 3 weeks before my 35th birthday. I came home from work, as I always did, at exactly 6:15. I walked through the front door, set down my briefcase, and called out, "I'm home." Silence. I assumed my wife, Natalie, was in the backyard or upstairs, or maybe in the kitchen with headphones on. I walked through the living room, past the dining room, into the kitchen. She was sitting at the table, scrolling through her phone, a cup of tea growing cold beside her. "Hey," I said. "How was your day?" She didn't look up, didn't acknowledge me, just kept scrolling. I waited a moment, then tried again. "Natalie." Nothing. I walked closer, stood right in front of her. She continued scrolling, her face completely blank, as if I weren't there. "Natalie," I said louder this time. "What's going on?" She stood up, walked past me without a word, and went upstairs. I heard the bedroom door close. I stood in the kitchen, confused, hurt, and utterly baffled. We'd had arguments before, what married couple hadn't? But nothing like this. Nothing that warranted complete, total silence. That was the beginning. The next morning, I woke up next to her. She was already awake, staring at the ceiling. I said good morning. She said nothing. I asked if she wanted coffee. Nothing. I went to work, came home, tried again. Nothing. Days passed. Then a week. Then 2. I tried everything. I asked what I'd done wrong. I apologized for things I couldn't name. I brought her flowers, her favorite chocolates, a card expressing my love and confusion. She accepted them without acknowledgement, setting them aside as if I'd left them on the counter for someone else. I tried to get our daughter, Chloe, to help. She was 13 at the time, old enough to notice something was wrong. But when I asked if she knew why her mother was ignoring me, she just shrugged and said, "Mom's been weird lately. She doesn't talk to me much either." That was the worst part. Not just that Natalie was ignoring me, but that she was withdrawing from all of us. From our family. From the life we'd built together over 15 years of marriage. We'd met in college, young and idealistic and full of dreams. She was an art history major, passionate and creative and utterly captivating. Chloe came 3 years later. She was the center of our world, the reason we worked so hard, saved so much, dreamed so big. We bought a house in the suburbs, a fixer-upper with potential. We spent weekends painting, landscaping, making it ours. We had dinner together every night, family movie nights on Fridays, Sunday morning pancakes that became a cherished tradition. I thought we were happy. I thought we were solid. I thought we were forever. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. Natalie started working longer hours at her gallery job. She joined committees, volunteered for events, filled her calendar with obligations that kept her away from home. I supported her, encouraged her, told her to follow her passions. I took on more of the household responsibilities, more of Chloe's activities, more of the invisible labor that keeps a family running. I didn't mind. I loved her. I loved our family. I was happy to do whatever it took to keep us together. But now, sitting in a silent house night after night, I wondered if she felt the same. If she even noticed what I did, what I sacrificed, who I was. The third week of silence was the hardest. I stopped trying to engage, stopped bringing flowers, stopped asking questions. I went through the motions, work, home, dinner alone, sleep, in a fog of confusion and grief. I started sleeping in the guest room, unable to lie next to someone who treated me like a stranger. Chloe noticed. She'd sit with me sometimes, doing homework at the kitchen table while I stared at the wall. "Dad," she said one night, "are you and Mom getting divorced?" The question hit me like a physical blow. "No, sweetheart. Of course not." "Then why doesn't she talk to you?" I didn't have an answer. I still don't. The month mark came and went. 30 days of silence. 30 days of being invisible in my own home. 30 days of watching my wife move through the house like a ghost, present but unreachable. On the 31st day, I made a decision. I came home from work early. I packed a bag, clothes, toiletries, a few photos of Chloe. I wrote a letter, short and simple, and left it on the kitchen table. I don't know what I did wrong. I don't know why you've chosen to erase me from your life. But I can't live like this anymore. I'm leaving. Not because I don't love you, but because I can't keep loving someone who doesn't see me. I'll always be here for Chloe. She can reach me anytime. But I need to find myself again. Goodbye. I walked out the door and didn't look back. I drove for hours, not knowing where I was going. I ended up in a small town 3 states away, a place I'd never heard of, with a main street and a diner and a motel with vacancy. I checked in, paid for a week, and collapsed on the bed. The next few days were a blur of numbness and pain. I slept, ate when I remembered, walked the streets of that little town without seeing anything. I thought about Chloe constantly, worried about her, missed her with an ache that never stopped. I called her every day, and she answered sometimes, her voice small and confused. "Dad, where are you?" "I'm somewhere safe, sweetheart. I just needed some time." "When are you coming home?" "I don't know. Soon, maybe." "I love you, Chloe. I love you so much." "I love you too, Dad." Those calls were the only light in those dark days. The only reason I kept going. Weeks passed. I found a job at a local garage, fixing cars, something I hadn't done since high school. It was honest work, physical and satisfying, and it kept my hands busy while my heart healed. I rented a small apartment above a bakery, the smell of fresh bread my morning alarm. I started therapy. I talked about Natalie, about the silence, about the years of feeling invisible. My therapist, a kind woman named Dr. Chun, helped me see patterns I'd never noticed, the way I'd always put others first, always sacrificed my own needs, always accepted less than I deserved. "You've been conditioned to believe that love means enduring," she said one day. "But real love doesn't require you to disappear. Real love sees you. Real love wants you to be seen." I thought about Chloe, about the daughter I'd left behind, the daughter I saw only through occasional visits that grew less frequent as the months passed. Natalie had made it difficult, changing schedules, canceling plans, making excuses. I fought at first, then tired, then accepted the slow erosion of my relationship with my own child. It was the deepest wound of all. 2 years passed. I'd built a life in that small town. Friends, routines, a sense of belonging I'd never felt before. I'd been promoted at the garage, then bought it when the owner retired. I started a second business on the side, a small detailing service that grew faster than I expected. I was doing well, better than well, but I still thought about Chloe every single day. Then, out of the blue, an invitation arrived. It was a wedding invitation, thick cream paper with elegant calligraphy. Inside, it read, "Mr. David Morrison, you are cordially invited to celebrate the marriage of Chloe Elizabeth Morrison to Thomas Andrew Bennett." My daughter was getting married. I stared at the invitation for a long time, my heart pounding. Chloe was 21 now, a woman I barely knew. We'd stayed in touch over the years, phone calls, texts, the occasional visit when she could manage it. But Natalie had made it hard, always hard, and the distance between us had grown into something I didn't know how to bridge. And now this, an invitation, a chance to see her, a chance to be part of her life, if only for a day. I called the number on the RSVP card. Chloe answered. "Dad," she said, her voice warm. "You got the invitation." "I got it." "Chloe, I don't know what to say. I'd love to be there. If you want me there." "Of course I want you there. You're my dad." We talked for an hour that night, the longest conversation we'd had in years. She told me about Thomas, how they'd met, how he'd proposed, how happy she was. She told me about her job, her friends, her life. She told me she missed me. I told her I missed her too, that I loved her, that I was proud of her, and I told her I'd be at her wedding. The wedding was in the city where Chloe had grown up, the city I'd left years ago. I flew in the day before, checked into a hotel, and spent a sleepless night staring at the ceiling. I was nervous, not just about seeing Chloe, but about seeing Natalie, about facing the woman who'd made me invisible, about walking into a room full of people who probably thought I was the villain of this story. The next morning, I put on my suit, a nice one, tailored, the kind of suit I'd never been able to afford when I was married. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw a man I barely recognized. Older, yes. Gray at the temples, lines around the eyes. But also stronger, calmer, more at peace. I drove to the venue, a beautiful garden estate with rolling lawns and ancient trees. I parked, took a deep breath, and walked toward the ceremony. The first person I saw was Chloe. She was standing at the entrance, radiant in her wedding dress, surrounded by bridesmaids. When she saw me, her face lit up. "Dad!" She ran to me, threw her arms around me, held me tight. I held her back, tears streaming down my face. "You're here," she whispered. "You're really here." "I'm here, sweetheart. I wouldn't miss this for anything." We stood there for a long moment, father and daughter, reunited after years of separation. Then she pulled back, wiped her eyes, and smiled. "Come on," she said. "I want you to meet Thomas." She led me into the garden, introducing me to her fiancé, a kind-faced young man with a firm handshake and genuine smile. We talked for a few minutes, and I liked him immediately. He loved my daughter. That was all that mattered. Then I saw Natalie. She was standing near the altar, talking to a group of guests. She looked older too, her hair shorter, her face more lined. But her eyes were the same, sharp, assessing, always looking for something she couldn't find. When she saw me, she froze. I walked toward her, not because I wanted to, but because it was the only path to my seat. As I approached, the people around her noticed me too, their conversations trailing off into awkward silence. "David," Natalie said. Her voice was strange, surprised, uncertain, something else I couldn't name. "Natalie," I replied. "It's good to see you." She looked me up and down, taking in the suit, the watch, the confidence I'd never had when I lived with her. I saw something flicker in her eyes, recognition, maybe, or regret. "You look." She paused, searching for the right word. "Different." "I am different," I said. "We all change." She nodded slowly. "I didn't think you'd come. Chloe invited me. I wouldn't miss my daughter's wedding." Of course. Of course." She glanced around, as if looking for an escape. "Well, enjoy the ceremony. We can talk later, maybe." "Sure," I said, knowing we wouldn't. Knowing there was nothing left to say. I took my seat in the second row, next to Natalie's sister, who gave me a tight smile and then looked away. The ceremony was beautiful, Chloe and Thomas, young and in love, promising forever to each other. I cried through most of it, unable to help myself. Afterward, there was a reception in a grand tent on the lawn. I found my table, made small talk with strangers, ate the excellent food. I watched Chloe dance with her new husband, with her friends, with her mother-in-law. I waited for my turn. It came late in the evening, after most of the formal dances were done. Chloe walked over to me, took my hand, and said, "Dance with me, Dad." We walked to the dance floor together. The band was playing something slow, something sweet. I held my daughter in my arms and tried not to cry again. "I'm sorry," I whispered, "for all the years I missed. For not being there when you needed me." "Dad, stop," she said. "You're here now. That's what matters. But I should have fought harder. I should have. You did what you had to do." Mom told me what happened. Not at the time, but later. She told me about the silence. About how she treated you. I didn't understand then, but I do now. I looked at her, surprised. "She told you." She said she made mistakes. A lot of mistakes. She said she regrets them every day. I thought about that. Natalie, admitting fault, owning her choices. It was more than I'd ever expected. "I don't hate her," I said quietly. "I never did. I just couldn't stay." "I know, Dad. I know." We danced in silence for a while, the music washing over us. Then Chloe pulled back and looked at me, her eyes serious. "There's something I need to tell you," she said. "Something Mom doesn't know. Something I've never told anyone." I waited. "The month Mom ignored you? The reason she did it?" My heart clenched. "What about it?" "She was having an affair." The words hit me like a physical blow. I stopped dancing, stood frozen in the middle of the floor. "What?" Chloe nodded, her face sad. "I found out years later, from a friend of hers who felt guilty. She was seeing someone else. That's why she pulled away. That's why she couldn't look at you. She was trying to find a way to leave, but she couldn't bring herself to do it. So she just made you leave instead." I felt the world tilt beneath me. All those years of wondering, of blaming myself, of thinking I'd done something wrong. And it was her. It was always her. "Dad, are you okay?" I took a deep breath. Then another. I'm okay, I said. I'm okay. Thank you for telling me. I thought you should know. Before you saw her again. Before you wondered. I hugged her tight. I love you, Chloe. I'm so proud of you. I love you too, Dad. We finished the dance, and I walked back to my table in a daze. I didn't see Natalie for the rest of the evening. I didn't look for her. The next morning, I was packing my hotel room when there was a knock at the door. I opened it to find Natalie standing there, looking nervous. Can we talk? She asked. I hesitated, then stepped aside. She walked in, sat in the chair by the window, and waited for me to sit on the bed. I owe you an apology, she said. A real one. Not the kind you give because someone expects it, but the kind you give because you finally understand what you did. I said nothing. The silence. The way I treated you. It was wrong. It was cruel. And it wasn't your fault. I waited. I was having an affair, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't know how to leave, didn't know how to tell you. So I just shut down. I made you the enemy so I wouldn't have to face what I'd become. It was cowardly. It was selfish. And I've regretted it every single day since. Why are you telling me this now? Because you deserve to know. Because Chloe deserves to have a father who isn't haunted by questions. Because I'm tired of carrying this guilt, and you're the only one who can help me put it down. I looked at her. This woman I'd loved, this woman who'd broken me. She looked smaller now, diminished, stripped of the armor she'd worn for so long. Thank you for telling me, I said. It doesn't fix anything. It doesn't undo the years I lost with Chloe. But thank you. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I know. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just asking you to know the truth. I stood up. I know it now, and I'm going to need some time to process it. Of course. She stood too, walked to the door, then turned back. David, you look good. Really good. I'm glad you're okay. I'm more than okay, I said. I'm happy. She smiled, a sad, wistful smile, and left. I sat on the bed for a long time after she was gone, thinking about everything. The years of silence. The years of rebuilding. The daughter I'd almost lost and somehow found again. The woman who'd broken me and the man I'd become because of it. I wasn't angry. I'd been angry for too long, and it had only made me tired. Now I was something else, something lighter, something free. I finished packing, checked out of the hotel, and drove back to my life. To my town, my garage, my friends, my peace. Chloe and I talk regularly now. She and Thomas visit sometimes, staying in my spare room, eating at my favorite diner, walking through the town that became my home. She calls me Dad, and I call her sweetheart, and we're making up for lost time one conversation at a time. Natalie and I don't speak. There's nothing left to say. She made her choices, and I made mine, and they led us to different places. I wish her well, from a distance. I hope she finds the peace she's looking for. But I don't need her to find it. I've found my own. The silence that once broke me eventually set me free. It forced me to leave, to rebuild, to become someone I never would have been if I'd stayed. It gave me a life I never could have imagined. A life full of purpose and peace and people who see me. And when I walked into that wedding, when Natalie saw who I'd become, I saw something in her eyes that I'll never forget. Not regret, exactly. Not longing. But recognition. The sudden, startling realization that the man she'd made invisible had become someone worth seeing. It was too late for us. It had always been too late. But in that moment, I felt a strange kind of closure. The circle had closed. The story had ended. And a new one had begun. I'm sitting on my porch now, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and pink. My phone buzzes, a text from Chloe, a photo of her and Thomas on vacation. I smile, save the photo, text back a heart. Life is good. It's more than good. It's everything. Thank you for listening to this story. If it resonated with you, if it made you feel something, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more real-life tales, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. You never know who might be sitting in silence, waiting for the courage to leave. Remember, you are seen. You matter. And sometimes, the silence that breaks you is the same silence that sets you free. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And never stop believing in your own worth.